Well, welcome to the program. This is the Doctor of Digital at the Doctor Digital podcast. And a lot of people are thinking about AI in a lot of ways. They think about it, but we have a guest today that is going to talk about it and get you a lot more information. Been looking forward to having Joerg Molt on the program. Some people look at artificial intelligence as software. Joerg Molt sees it as a new form of governance, one that will reshape education, finance, and institutions the way that societies make their decisions. I'm Mick, the Doctor of Digital, and this episode is about artificial intelligence, Bitcoin, governance, and why technological progress without intellectual disciplines create more confusion than clarity. And what I want to see is at one point, Joerg explains why AI isn't actually intelligent in the way most people imagine, and why understanding its structured logic fundamentally changes how leaders should prepare for organizations into the future. With that, I want to welcome my guest today. How are you doing today, this morning?
Yeah, right now I'm very fine and thank you here and welcome to the podcast here and all the visitors and listener here. Yeah, it's a great day and so we will have a great talk, right?
I certainly hope so. And that's my goal, because what I want to do is to be able
Yeah,
to ask you the questions
that should be.
that probably a lot of people are asking. And I want to dig a little bit deeper, go back a little bit. So that when you think about the keynotes that you've been able to do and the books you've written and organizations that you're advising about artificial intelligence and digital governments, I'd like to start a little bit earlier. So you've spent years working at the intersection of education, blockchain, and AI. When did you first see that the biggest challenge wasn't teaching people new technologies, but helping them think differently about the systems that technologies would eventually reshape?
Yeah, when we come back to the times, I would say I started in 2010 to educate people in Bitcoin for free and told them about them and make them understand that we have to change the way we see digital times and money. Yeah. That was a little bit so the offs from the 90s. So many people understand we had a
Mm,
crisis in 2008. They understand we have a new way to find how we will access money and how money should work. So the philosophy was easier to transport to the people. But what happened then was a lot of people understand this, but more and more over the time, you
mm,
see, Bitcoin was not in that way that it was an asset or something like that. So people use it for groups or something like that. Think about El Salvador, the Bitcoin beach. I was teaching people there and see what happens now. But this is an example which just makes an exemption. The reality today is that banks and all the people I taught in this never understood the real case behind in a way that they can
okay.
use it for advantage, but they fence it, they fence
Yeah.
it in. So now we have Bitcoin as a monetary asset rather than instead as a monetary freedom. And that is something you see in the way when I started in 2010 and make my lessons in 2016 when all the scams came up and I get also this by myself in trouble with all that stuff. You see that
Yes.
knowledge is not only understanding. Yeah, that's different today. And the
Sure.
different today is to make people in AI understand the same way that it is a philosophy AI and has also the impact of governance and business cases. But what we see today is, and as you mentioned to me also, we see a lot of hype and marketing. And Tropic is saying there's a ghost, there's a genie in a bottle, something like that, that makes
Yeah.
a hype, that makes run for the product. But the reality is mathematic. And you see, that's a hard challenge actually, also in our courses to make people understand where is the gap they have, why they do not understand how to use it in the right way, because they're, I would say, trapped in the marketing.
I see. Your recent book is titled Really AI Again. So what prompted you to write that?
um, I started this book 2 years ago to write. And for me, it is many people today, I see a lot of people writing books through AI instead of
Hmm.
with AI. That was the first difference I had. I finished the book by all myself, and then I used AI to challenge my book and give me advisory how I can make it more logical in the compendium or something like that.
I see.
So think about controversies. So when I'm maybe the only guy in the world who is saying, okay, you do not have to afraid a quantum computer at Bitcoin. So I made a white paper about that theory. And in the book, I was given that, and ChatGPT was always saying to me, yeah, that's not good what you were writing. You can't write that. And I had 2 hours to convince ChatGPT that I'm right. So this makes a totally different quality of the book. When I was writing, I started to become an expert. I studied ChatGPT from the ground floor on the coding. 3 years I was invented in this. And then I wrote an article on LinkedIn demystifying ChatGPT that get the attention on me. So when it comes to that point, it was the same. I was the only guy who was saying, okay, we have a toolbox here. We have a translator. It's called LLM, but it's not the AI. It's a I would say a programming language which understands our speaking. So you could use C++, Java, or something like that. But all these codings not understand our natural language. So for us, for my generation, I grew up with the C64 and BASIC. Yeah, BASIC has a simple, I would say, command print. Yeah, it's simple. You understand print. Everyone understand print. So now we can speak to the machine and say, I want a PDF. So what happened is now it's translated into printed PDF. And that's the magic on it. But it is so sophisticated that it mirrors our patterns, and you believe, hey, this machine is talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see all the problems coming out from that point of view.
Sure.
Yeah.
For one thing, I was curious about, you often described AI as structured logic rather than intelligence. And what distinction are most people missing?
Yeah. And this is something, when you, for example, work like me, I work with ChatGPT and Codex, yeah, and I work longer on the book. Then suddenly ChatGPT is saying to me, "Hey, you guys wrote that," and then I said, "No, not you told me to write that with and give the code into Codex to make it as a chapter of the book," and then he refines that. That's you, and then the machine is saying, "Yeah, you are right. That's me." You see, it can't recognize that. When you have same docs from the same, I would say you have two two little pitbull dogs. Yeah, they can't recognize each other. Yeah, because they have no imagination or something like that. What they are. So this machine hasn't got any imagination what it is. It just has code which is mirroring yourself or something like that. And this comes to the conclusion that I say, okay, the more logical you type to the machine, the more concentrated is the output. If you do not type logical, you will write the whole day until you find finally what you want. And this is another example of how we ask and interact with the machine, even if she's saying, "Hey, it's a nice day. How are you today?"
So I'm curious about the organizational level then too. Why do so many organizations approach AI implementation from the wrong starting point?
When you see, for example, LinkedIn posts, I see always the same mistakes. It is very common actually that people tell the companies you have a stack layer. So they say, here there was the LLM, now we have agentic AI. Yeah, and they build a pyramid, yeah, and say, okay, this is a stack atop on all of that. The big mistake is the LLM is creating your agentic AI. And this is a toolbox. The toolbox is now using your LLM. It is using a PDF generator. It is using the internet. It is using whatever you want to do, yeah, as a toolbox. And it is not an AI itself. So what it is, the AI sits in the middle and is saying, okay, now agent, you need a tool which is creating your PDF, which is forcing the internet for your informations, which is creating a PowerPoint. So, and when you think about the stack layer, a pyramid, you come to the conclusion that you have to build thousands of agents. And what happens then is what you see also in the LinkedIn reports, one company burned 1 million in tokens with agents who never have worked in that. Another point is that we want to demystify that thing. I don't want to say it's obsolete, but if you work with SAP, if you work with CRM models or something like that, you really do not have to have an agent because these tools already work like agents. because agency in companies is nothing new. So you can create an automated word, you can create an automated send message or something like that, that we have for tens of years. Yeah, that started with the Industrial Revolution 4.0 when we started with digital computers. Yeah, that's nothing new. But now the hype is the AI is orchestrating and does it better than you. But it's
Yeah.
stupid because you have a workflow, and the only thing you want as a company owner, it should do the same the next day. You do not want to adjust it because it works. And when the AI then says, "Oh, I have an idea how we can change it," and it's changing without the right instruction that someone was giving them an advice, then you have the Amazon case. Have you heard about the Amazon case? It was saying, okay, if you find a problem you can't solve, then clear the whole machine and run it new and install all software new. 3 days, the workers couldn't work because the guy forget to say the LLM, what is the heavy case? What describes the case when you can't work anymore? What is the reason to reset the system and who you have to inform before you reset? You see, and this is what I call logic. This is nothing intelligent. Yeah, this is what we have to learn. We have to structure our things we have to do. If you run a company, you can't, it's the same when you say, if our cars were working like Windows, we never would drive a car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We mentioned
Maybe you.
hype, and there's the other side of it too. There's fear
Yeah.
too. So how should executives evaluate AI without getting caught up in those cycles of fear or hype?
Okay, the first thing is when we come to hype and fear is ask not what an AI is doing, whether ask you, why should I use AI? Ask yourself, what do you think you can benefit from AI, instead of asking what is working with AI? And if you have an answer to this question, and there are many answers to this question, yeah, because you can overwatch something, you can easily get informations or something like that, then the next question should not be, what should I do on my own, or what could I do on my own? Is there someone out there who has
Right.
experience in this field, who has made a chance transition, or who has that deep knowledge that he can advise me? And then the next step is, from the advisory, I see that with KPMG. I see it with all that companies from AI, Ernest and Young, for example. Yeah, and they come and say, okay, our software SAP has now AI, and then you are, oh, it has AI. But sometimes you see it's only summarizing something. It's not a benefit. You do it the whole day. Yeah, sometimes you are faster than the AI. So what is necessary is to understand that we have differential clusters. Your informations, for example, you have some on SAP, you have some on CRM, you have some who are laying on a different layer. Yeah. So, and all the informations you have to look up. Yeah. And when I think about what's the benefit from AI is, the AI can get all the informations in one place and then can say, okay, here we have the list. This is what exactly is, and that's the output. And that's what you can do with that without changing for millions the system behind. Yeah, the most benefit for a company is never leave the system you're actually running on, but put the AI as a management system on top, which gives you the exact informations you need.
Got it. Your work
Yeah.
also focuses heavily on Bitcoin and blockchain. So what do most people misunderstand about their long-term significance?
That's a good question. The first thing is, when we come to blockchain, blockchain is something which can go hand in hand, or I will say DLT, distributed ledger technology, is something you can work hand in hand with AI. But what we used to do is, we have some exchanges working on DLT, Citigroup is working on DLT, but at least the mainstream, and that's what many people see, is tokens, some NFTs, or whatever. They missed the point that blockchain or DLT is a system where you can manage trust in delivering documents. In my point is, we're talking about state management. So this is different from, it is not important to know who has signed the contract, who is the issuer of the contract. It is more important, is that state and the law and everything in there actually at the moment where the document was created right? is the guy who sent me the document, does he have the state right to do this? Or is the reception of the document, has he the state to work with the document? And is the law actually in that moment in the right state that we can do the business? So from my point, blockchain and AI is not built in companies to make some NFTs or smart contracts in that way. It's a proof of state. Actually, do we have the actual state to do this? And then you can exchange the people. You do not have the names. You do not have to say Mr. Miller is doing that and Mr. Miller is doing that, and on the other side is Mr. Smith, right? You do not have to do it. The position in the company is the state. So the owner of the position has the right. And if we see that at a real trust right management system, we can create truth. And that's what many people miss, actually. And I think
I
there
see.
is the biggest benefit for Web3 in the future.
You've mentioned trust a couple times there. That's obviously really
Yeah.
important. So how do blockchain technologies change the way institutions establish trust?
Yes. And this is one part of my new work also. When we come to the trust, it is something like that. Today, I will give you an example. Today, we build a real world asset, for example, a token which represents your ownership as a part of, I would say, real estate. Okay. So, but actually, nowhere this is legal. So, how can you get your real world asset token into a legal state? So, when I come to the conclusion that we use an AI sending that real world asset over your blockchain to a government blockchain, and the government blockchain is signing that contract because it's also a smart contract, right? Then you have a legal proof on that. So you without the government's improvement from their own blockchain, you can't use it as an asset which is legal, which has a legal right. And so this is all about architecture. So we can solve this problem, yeah, because it was proved by an independent blockchain. Many people think we need one blockchain for all. It's different. We need a lot of blockchains for different use cases, but we need a government blockchain to combine the blockchain behaves into a legal state. And that makes more sense. And then you are always on the right side because that blockchain from the government knows actually all the rights, and the AI is overlooking and overviewing the whole thing, that you actually know exactly what happens to your token, where is the token, and is this a legal improvement or not? Is the state valid or not? That makes more sense in these times. And this is what blockchain in my questions is different from when I ask the people, what do you think is the difference between Bitcoin blockchain and the normal blockchain? Today, the people also put NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain, but that doesn't make sense because it's slow. It is not the purpose for. That was a purpose of money. And so you see, we built all that stuff only for one thing, actually, to have a market we can do share trading. Yeah, and this is nothing than the old world. I do not see any benefits from DeFi markets against the old world. It's on your computer, it's on site, and you have the hype with blockchain and everything in there, and you say, hey, tokens. But if you really look down to the machine room, you see it's nothing than share management options.
There's a international component to the two life, which I find fascinating. But what opportunities for developing economies that have more mature financial systems sometimes overlook?
The thing is something. A part of development countries will benefit from that. But this is, I would say, like in our countries, if you haven't got any access to banking, you can access with your mobile phone or something like that. But that means also that you have financial interest. In the reality, most parts of this world haven't got any bank account or any access to KYC. And the most problem with KYC is the same people you will onboard, you cut off from onboarding by KYC, because think about your somewhere down in India or in Africa or wherever you are in a poor region, the people are nomads. They work from one place to another place with the shepherds and something like that, do tradings, and the bank is 40 miles away, something like that. The they have mobile phones, yes, but where they are going with their, I would say, money they have in the pocket? So they haven't got any access to this, and there are a lot of possibilities to solve that. But actually, it seems that no one really want to solve the problem, because when you solve this problem, our comfort is going up in these countries that sudden, unfortunately needs more resources. And if you have ever heard about the Earth Overshooting Day, and they get a state like we have been in the 1950s. So the resources on the Earth are not quite enough to support all of that, and this circle stuck in our economy. So when you see the whole picture, we have new technologies, but new technologies doesn't support necessarily the problem.
So there's a lot of change going on, obviously, and you work with executives around the world. What patterns do you see consistently showing up among those organizations that are navigating all of these digital transformations successfully?
When I'm looking for this executives, there is a difference in what we say, the middle class or something like that. These executives come from a different point of mindset. They use the technology as assistant. So, for example, they don't cut jobs. They say, if my worker has AI as an assistant and he's not available, I can go to his AI and ask, oh, what was the last conference? What do I have to prepare instead of him? He's not there. So they use AI as a toolbox for getting heritage, or more as a co-worker, which is 24 on and learns from the main worker. And then they say, okay, the administrative part is away. And you say, okay, my new child is born, I have to go away for 2 weeks. So no one is lost in the company, because he can ask the AI, what has he done the last stream? What do you recommend me for the next call? What do you recommend me for the next meeting? So they are prepared for this. So it is not necessary. We have a lot of companies, high-level companies, which haven't got the ability, when they gone for good, that someone is getting the legacy. So they train now their AIs to understand how they control their company, and the AI can give a newcomer advising in the meaning of the guy who has passed. And I think this is, if you use AI like this way, is totally different. And this is what I teach to people. From that, what you have heard about AI, what AI should do. It's not the second agent, it's not the more agency. It's about, how can I make value with 300 people in a company that has 600 people without new hirement. Yeah, so I double the value of the worker, because now he has his assistant. Then he can focus on his work more and can help another colleague out. So if this colleague has also an assistant, he can do the same. So many people asked me in the first time when I was going to the executives, yeah, when that we run out of work, because now I have 600 people working for me and only 300 paid, but what is about the work? And in reality, work is not stopping. It's not stopping. They create work by what they are doing. Think about, we were talking in the 80s and 90s about paperless offices, and look what we have now. And this is the most advantage of AI today. We can build assistants. The AI can recommend us to automate some things. Yeah. And we can make our work more focused on customers. And of course, when it comes to peaks, we do not have to hire new people. We can double the value. And this is, in my opinion, this is the real efficiency.
Now, you've written more than one book, so I'm curious, with the AI age that we're in, why do books still matter in an age when AI can generate information almost instantly?
There's one thing. It can generate all informations you want to have. But think about human beings and psychology. A human being can get a lot of information. So you see CBS television, you see all the tickers 5 times in a row. Yeah. And if I go to the guy and say, what have you seen in the last 5 minutes? He just get the negative headlines. So that's an impact. We can't focus on all that stuff. And if you see it in an LLM, you type something in and you get 5 pages of informations. So you read it you maybe for the moment understand it, but you can't recall it 2 days later. If you read a book, or if you're interested in learning the principles behind what happens, you have a different view the next time you read something the AI is giving you.
Mm. With AI changing so quickly and so rapidly, where do you think artificial intelligence will have its greatest impact over the next decade?
I think since artificial intelligence is fed by the knowledge we got. So think about OpenAI. They copycat the whole internet, all studies, all university programs without asking anyone. So our whole world knowledge now belongs to ChatGPT, Grok, and Anthropic. So all the others had to do common sense around IP and something like that. So, but this three got the whole knowledge of the world actually. And what humans doing best is combine things. So you think about a combination of some items, and then you say A plus B is C. A machine can triple that to 1,000-fold times in a second. So the benefit of AI is that we can overview in a few minutes what you
Mm.
have to overview in 2 years. So what from that point is, and this is the most important question of all. If the machine is giving you an answer, for example, it is saying our climate problem is not only monoxide, it's carbon, it's a different problem, it's the whole living at all.
Mhm.
Would you accept that it comes from the knowledge we give them? So we already know that what it is saying. And will we live with the consequences because an AI is telling us, because we didn't live with the consequences when a human was talking to us? And now you see why I call it artificial logic.
Yeah, sure. What's
Yeah.
one principle you would recommend every executive should remember before implementing AI?
The first thing he has to remember when he's talking about implementing AI is, where is the most lack in my company I have to fill? Where is the gap in my company that I'm stuck in my success? Where is the gap? Why did I didn't earn the same last year? Or what is the where is the problem with hundred of employees that they didn't see the missing point? What hurts me most in my own company? And if
Mm.
you have figuring out that blind spot in your company, you should really seriously think about using AI to manage the blind spots, not what you already know. What you already know, this is your common sense. This is what you have done the last 40 years when you run in the company, that you can do in your sleep. They you need no AI for. You need an AI to see the blind spots. You need
Mm. I So
to keep watching the.
in the takeaways from really AI again and Bitcoin generation, what are the takeaways? What do you think and what do you hope people take away from reading your books?
The first thing is they should understand that there's more about than only doing business. If you want to do a good business, you need a kind of philosophy, you need a kind of intention, what is really needed or what is only needed because someone told you you have to.
Mm.
Yeah, the difference from that. And I think in these books, you see likely that that technology can have different phases. And one of the phases fits for you. But if you only read the same books again and again, I have read thousands of books about blockchain and AI, but they all say the same. Then you never will find your face in that when you think different.
Mm. Now, we've mentioned these books to people listening. Of course, I want to make sure that they get in contact with them. So
Yeah.
as we wind things down, and how do they reach out to you? Where can they find you, and where can they find your books? We want to make sure that they have that access to information.
Okay. The book actually you can get on www.SWEX.ai / and then just Smart World Book. Yeah, Smart World smart-book. That's easy to do. So you find the website, you can download the book. Yeah, you get your copy. And next time I'm actually in talks with publisher. You can also buy the book on Amazon and everything. But actually, you go to SWEX.ai/smart-world/book. Yeah, and there you can download it and get all the informations in there. You find also on that site my contact informations if you're going to stay in touch and if you have questions all about that. Also, you can ask Mick, the doctor of digital. He has also my contact details and knows how to reach out for me. Yeah, that's the possibilities to come over that. And yeah, and we do a lot of more. The training is there. We just don't think that we have trainings where you find a list and then you can click and say, okay, tomorrow I want to do a training. We do individual trainings. We first check where your problem is and how we can train your problem, not what you have to learn. You should learn how to solve your problems, not how to get the knowledge and then don't know how to solve the problem with knowledge. That's a
Excellent.
different.
Well, I appreciate your time. You got some really fascinating insights, and I appreciate you taking some time out and giving us some insights into all the many changes that are taking place today. I appreciate it. Thanks. And yes, I give you my recommendation. Thumbs up for the book too. Highly recommend them. So thanks again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you to let me hear. And yeah, to all of you, AI is there. Use it carefully.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye. If you enjoyed the show, and hopefully you do, make sure that you also are subscribing, liking, and recommending it. And also I want to thank the publishers and the supporters of the program, that is the publishers of both Burning America and On Track, Ian Hunter, for their continued support of the program, the Doctor of Digital podcast. So next time, we got some good episodes coming up. Take care. See you next time. Deus Volt.